Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
A very good evening to you. This is Primetime News. Come to live on MTV Sports and Shakti TV. I'm Shanjarang Pati and these are your headlines. No matter what decisions are made in Geneva, we will only bow to the decision of the people. A statement from the President. Minister Mahendra Singh says that the government has no faith in international investigations. Presidential Commission on the Missing and Disappeared receives a complaint on an alleged mass grave in Bataclan. Minister Rajatha Senaratne comments on the murder of Bharata Lakshman Premachandra.
Bharata මැරෙන්න හිටිය ජීවි තුවක්කුවකින් එහෙම නැත්නම් එල්ජීඩී බෝම්බකින් අපිට දුක පැත්තක හිටපු කුඩුකාරයෙක්ගෙන් මැරුණේ.
Fresh satellite images of suspected debris further concentrate search of MH370. Well, those are headlines. We now cross over to the main desk for these stories in detail.
Thank you, Shaheen, and a very good evening to all our viewers. I'm Arundhati Mudarnak. We'll start off with a look at your local news. President Mahendra Rajapaksa says that regardless of what decisions are made in Geneva, the government will only bow down to decisions of the people of the country. And the President made this statement at a rally held in Piliyandala last evening.
An election rally organised by the UPFA was held at the Piliyandala Urban Council Sports Ground yesterday. We have ended the war. For 30 years the war prevailed. We have ended it and initiated a program for development and are now taking our country towards development. Even the development we have brought is being shown in a negative light. They say going to war was wrong. Today we are responding to this in Geneva. We must clearly state that regardless of what decisions are made in Geneva, we will only bow our heads to the decisions of the people of this nation. We are facing several problems while developing this country and lifting the people's standard of living. We must state clearly that only this government and I can resolve these problems as well.
Minister Mahendra Singh says that there can be no trust placed in an investigation into Sri Lanka conducted by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. Now, speaking to Newsfirst upon his return from Geneva, where he participated at the 25th regular session of the UN Human Rights Council as a resident special envoy on human rights, Minister Singh said that the resolution on Sri Lanka will most probably be taken up for debate on the 27th of this month.
The 25th regular session of the UN Human Rights Council is currently underway in Geneva. 5 nations led by the United States have sponsored a resolution on promoting reconciliation and accountability in Sri Lanka. A fundamental factor in this resolution is the call for an international investigation into Sri Lanka. The draft resolution also calls on the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to lead this investigation.
Over the past 2 weeks, when I was addressing the regional group meetings in Geneva, I stated that I do not see the difference between an international inquiry mechanism and entrusting an investigation to the High Commissioner. I said that we see this as the same thing. We cannot have any faith in an investigation that is carried out by the Office of the High Commissioner. We have pointed out that the Office of the High Commissioner has constantly called for an international investigation. They had no want in their minds for a domestic investigation. At a time when there are several domestic investigations, there is no need whatsoever for an international investigation. At the same time, when looking at incidents that occurred in the recent past, we do not have any faith that an international investigation will be conducted independently.
This will be the third resolution on Sri Lanka that will be taken up at the UN Human Rights Council. The US-sponsored resolution is being co-sponsored by the UK, Montenegro, Macedonia and Mauritius.
A resolution has been put forward. We do not know the final structure of this resolution. Amendments can be submitted 24 hours before it is tabled. At the same time, when the resolution is taken up, amendments can be proposed during the council session. Thereby, we cannot as yet say what the final structure of the resolution that will be presented to the council will be. Nevertheless, a resolution has been put forward, and at present it appears most probable that the resolution will be taken up on the 27th.
The Presidential Commission to investigate complaints regarding missing persons carried out investigations at a location in the Kurukhalmaram area in Bataclan, which is suspected to be a site of a mass grave. Chairman of the Commission, former High Court Judge Maxwell Paragama, said that legal procedures in this regard will be taken soon.
The President appointed this commissioner in order to investigate on complaints with regard to missing persons from 1990 to 2009. The commission was appointed in line with the National Action Plan to implement the recommendations of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission report. The commission carried out public sittings in Batiklo recently, and after receiving information about the mass grave, the commission investigated the site.
We met with
the chairman of the commission and requested him to grant us permission to excavate this grave once again and unearth the bodies so that we could be allowed to give burial to the bodies according to Islam. Accordingly, they investigated the Kurukal Madam beach with us. There are two pits on the beach that we have caved in. The people told that it is the site where the Muslims were brought in from Kathankudi, Ampara was shot and buried. We will look into this and inform the magistrate. There will be more witness. We will direct all of them to the magistrate and take the necessary steps.
The arts and education faculties of the University of Colombo have been closed indefinitely as a result of a conflict that arose during the enrolling of new students this morning.
New students of the arts faculty at the University of Colombo were to be admitted to hostels at Navinna and Telavala in Ratmalana today. While 270 students were to be admitted to the Telavala hostel, 40 students were to be admitted to the Navinna hostel. They had been informed via a letter that they would be provided with temporary accommodation and were asked to be present today. Although students who were to be admitted to the Telavala hostel arrived there this morning, they were not granted the opportunity to be admitted as a result of obstruction caused by a group of senior students who arrived at the location while registration was underway. The senior students protested, claiming that the fee of 1,000 rupees charged from students when being admitted to hostels had been increased to 3,000 rupees.
The only thing that can be done is that these university students must go away from here and let us do our work. Wait a minute. If there is a problem, this is not the occasion to discuss it. None of these students can remain on these premises. Our problem is that a promise was made that students would be charged a fee of 1,000 rupees and be admitted. But today, unbeknownst to anyone, they are registering students for 3,000 rupees. I am the officer in charge of these premises.
As a result of the protest of senior students, the registration of new students was halted.
As a result of this demonstration, parents who brought their children could not register them. Our work was disrupted. Not only was it obstructed, now it has halted completely. I do not know anything beyond that. They do not charge more than 1,000 rupees at any university. The children who are admitted here are children whose parents' monthly income is less than 8,000 rupees. Transport to and from the campus from here costs 60 rupees a day. In such a backdrop, they are charging 3,000 rupees for hostel facilities from low-income parents.
The students and parents who arrived from outstation areas were most affected by the situation. The parents charged that the fee that is being charged is unjust. They also voiced their displeasure over the lack of facilities at the hostel that is still under construction.
They say that they will take 3,000 and accommodate the children here, but there are no facilities.
I paid 12,000 rupees to hire a van and came here with my daughter. When I looked at the quarters my daughter would be staying in, there was nothing.
It was later announced that students would be admitted to the hostel without a fee being charged.
I have reached a difficult solution and I have put my neck out. Will the others please leave? We will register them.
However, the University of Colombo Arts Faculty Student Union says that the decision to register the students was later withdrawn.
Please leave the premises and come back once you are informed.
රාත්‍රියෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ දෙවන දැනුම් දීමක් කරායින් පස්සේ ඇවිල්ලා ඒවට සම්බන්ධ.
As a result of the process being nullified, the students and parents left the premises.
අපි කුලි වැඩ කරලා ජීවත් වෙන මිනිස්සු. අද වේල ගන්න බොහොමනේ අපි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. ඒ රජයට තේරෙන්නේ නැද්ද? ඒ හරියට වැඩ කරද්දී එහෙම හරියට බලලා කරන්න බෑ. වැඩි.
දැන් අපිට තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව අපි තීරණය කරා
Given the situation, we have reached a decision and have published a notice. I will read this notice to you. This is to inform you that the arts faculty and education faculty have been closed until further notice with immediate effect. Areas of the Colombo University, including hostels, are now prohibited areas for students of the aforementioned faculties. We will take steps regarding this problem. We will not idle. But I think if we let them have a free hand, it will be an even bigger threat. Since this is taking place in Colombo, the capital, this threat is very grave.
While the search goes on for Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, several new possibilities on what happened to the aircraft continue to emerge. Two audacious possibilities relate to the navigational systems of the aircraft. One is based on Sir Arthur C. Clarke's short story, The Sentinel, and the subsequent movie by Stanley Kubrick, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Modern aircraft are equipped with amazingly intelligent computer systems. What is the possibility of the computer's own systems going rogue, overtaking the aircraft and navigating it independent of the pilots? Could the systems even have been corrupted by a computer virus? The other school of thought is to do with hacking. Computer hacking is commonplace today, but what about the possibility of an external hacking into the aircraft's navigational systems? These are the new schools of thought Newsfirst is looking into. We have sought the opinion of several international experts in the fields of aviation and criminology and will bring you a comprehensive report soon.
Meanwhile, Malaysia says it has received new satellite images from France showing potential debris from missing flight MH370 in the southern Indian Ocean. Now, this is the third set of images in a week of possible debris in the area.
More planes have joined an increasingly international search of the South Indian Ocean for missing flight MH370. 8 planes were sent out today over a wider search area after China released new images of possible debris. Australia is leading the search and said it was investigating sightings of a wooden pallet and other items. Based on information received from a satellite, the search has been in 2 distinct corridors, one stretching to the northwest of the last known location in the Malacca Straits and one to the southwest. However, none of the countries on the northern corridor have reported any radar contact, and 2 sets of satellite images of possible debris in the South Indian Ocean have concentrated the search there. 8 search planes were involved in the search today, including 4 civil aircraft and a US P-8 Poseidon. 2 Chinese IL-76 search planes have arrived in Perth but have not yet been deployed. Japan is sending 2 P-3 Orions. The Australian Navy's HMAS Success is the only ship in the area, though others, including from the US, UK and China, are on the way. The toll of more than 2 weeks of waiting was told in tears today as families of Malaysian passengers on board missing flight MH370 waited for news of their loved ones. News of the satellite images of possible debris from the plane was not comforting.
Oh God, give me the strength and guidance. I can't tell you how much I miss my son. This has gone on so long. I pray that he is safe. I've been praying to God to guide me. I can't tell you how much I miss him. He's been gone for so long now. I've been talking to a photo of him, asking, when will you come back to meet me? I pray for you, son, to be home safe.
If the object turns out to be the plane, we'll be very sad.
The search for the missing jetliner has now entered its 16th day.
Let's take a look at some of the views expressed on the election stage.
Our dear brother Lucky was murdered on the road. We cannot approve of this. Today you have an opportunity to stand against this injustice and this unfairness. Such a thing should not happen even to our foes in our lifetime. My friends, for this purpose, for justice and fairness, I call upon you to cast your preferential vote for our daughter Hirunika.
මේ වර්තමාන ජනාධිපති මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂට
When Chandrika Kumaratunga was attempting to evict President Mahinda Rajapaksa back then in an underhanded fashion, it was Bharata that fearlessly stood on behalf of Mahinda Rajapaksa. He was like his shadow. At that time, my friends, Bharata could have been killed by a JVP firearm or an LTTE bomb. We are saddened by the fact that he was murdered by a drug peddler on the sidelines.
අපිට දුක පැත්තක හිටපු කුඩුකාරයෙක්ගෙන් මැරුණේ.
Until this point in my life, I have only had one enemy, the murderer who killed my father. But from the day I stepped into politics, day by day my enemies have been growing in number rather than reducing. I hope that when the votes are counted on the 30th of March, you will all teach a good lesson to not only the murderers but also to those who empowered them and opened their eyes.
This government is 20 years of age. They have been unable to eradicate narcotics. Did you elect them to continue with the mistakes of the UNP? They speak of economic development, but it is a falsification of numbers. They have already destroyed the economy of this country. They have already destroyed our agriculture. I, who was beaten by the UNP for 17 years, sacrificed my entire life to shed sweat and tears for the government. I wish to tell the people that I am contesting the election being a man who has been beaten by the government because I have the support of these people. Today the world is different and the country is different. Politics is changing. It is pointless to talk about thievery, fraud and corruption at various places. Cast your vote against it. I ask you to elect people who are disciplined, ethical, creative and have honest dedication and can be accepted by people. Now, the opposition is holding its final meetings. There was a rally in our village too. When the leader came, the aide was missing. When the aide came, the leader was not there. When both come together, the candidates are missing. This is what has happened to the opposition today. While this country was saved from terrorism because of the thousands of lives that were sacrificed, the ruler of this country, the cabinet and the government did nothing. These children are in debt for 5 generations. Children's education has been destroyed. 500,000 children are enrolled in schools annually. 500,000 pass out, but only 20,000 can go to university. This is a time when we need talented politicians who will come to the people and work on their behalf instead of restricting themselves to the traditional political fighting ring and fighting there. When you do nothing for 5 years and then go and distribute some gifts in the last 6 months, you can secure votes. The time has come to sweep away these wrong political concepts from the political stage and the political field. Parliament has been silenced. At a time when the Parliament has been silenced, the police cannot implement the law of the land fairly. Remember this. When the chairman enters, the OIC must stand. The chairman sits in the OIC's seat. The OIC sits in the complainant's chair. The OIC lodges the complaint and the chairman writes it down.
Parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa says that an economy where the people will be able to live comfortably should be created. He expressed these views at a rally held in Hambantota yesterday.
Just remember one thing, the current government is engaging in a farce. By winning the war, they have stolen the votes of the people and with that they hold all the high positions. But now no one can talk about winning the war. They now say they want the votes because of the allegations in Geneva. There has to be a country, but that alone is not enough. There have to be people, and the people have to live. These people in turn need an economy where they can live. The people should not live in servitude. They should be able to grow through their strength, and the aim of our campaign is to create such an era. Whenever the SLFP comes to power, there are divisions between the races in this country. In the 50s, we saw this happen with the issues against the Tamil people. Then in the 60s, the government took the Catholic schools over, and the Catholics, the Buddhists, and the other races were against each other. Now we are witnessing even more problems. A situation is arising where, as per normal, a child will not be able to cover their heads and wear long pants to school. Politicians these days are like frogs in a well, and this has to come to an end.
Minister Vimal Veeravansa says that several groups of people are attempting to destroy the peace within the nation. He expressed these sentiments at an event where he handed over the Samagipura housing complex to the people in Grand Pass in Colombo today.
The three races in this country have three different identities, but there are countries with about 20 or 30 different races. So why can't we live in harmony in this small country with just three races? Several people want to destroy this unity. Certain groups try to divide the unity between the Muslims and the Sinhalese. When one extremist comes from one end, then another Muslim extremist is created from the other end. Minister Hakim is waiting for such drama. When such things happen, he contributes to it. He wants to show that he is the hero among the Muslim people. People who want to destroy our unity are everywhere.
The 10th leg of the Super Fighter program, Sri Lanka's first reality sports TV program, were held for a second day at St. Joseph's College, Maradana today.
Super Fighter.
This reality program, which aims to unearth hidden boxing talent in Sri Lanka, is a joint initiative of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst and MTV and MBC Media Networks. The 10th round of trials commenced with around 400 boxing contenders taking part in it. A training camp was held yesterday for all boxers in preparation for today's trials. The day's trials were worked off under 4 weight categories. The trials, which were held in a ring constructed to international standards, proved to be a novel experience for the boxers. How many boxers from the Colombo district will qualify to round 2 of Super Fighter? Tune in to Super Fighter on Sirius TV to find out more.
Super Fighter.
Up next is a look at Action TV.
This protest was staged by a group of farmers from Hulluwewa in Anuradhapura on the 17th of January. As a result of the demonstration, 4 days later, that is on the 22nd of January, representatives of the Hulluwewa Joint Farmers Association were granted an opportunity for talks at the Ministry of Agriculture in Battaramulla. At the talks, the Minister and the Ministry Secretary requested the farmers to grant them more time to carry out a promise made by the Minister to the farmers at a meeting held in Galenbindunuwewa on the 11th of August last year. As the farmers had already made more serious sacrifices than granting a grace period, they gave the authorities until the 22nd of February to resolve their problems. As a result, by the 22nd of February, 1,592 farmers should have received 16,500 rupees each as compensation. The sum of money was to cover the losses incurred by farmers who, on the recommendation of the Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture at the time, cultivated soybean seeds which later turned out to be substandard and provided a low yield. The farmers do not have the ability to prove the decisions that were arrived at during the discussion held on the 22nd of January. However, the Divisional Secretary of Galenbindunuwewa confirms the promise made by the Minister of Agriculture to the farmers at talks held at the Divisional Secretariat on the 11th of August last year.
The Minister instructed me to deploy my officials to assess the damage caused. I wish to ask if there was a shortcoming in this process.
The Divisional Secretary, who conducted an assessment as instructed, submitted a list of names of farmers entitled to compensation to the Ministry of Agriculture in September last year. The Divisional Secretary also confirms that when the list of names and the report was taken up at the Maha Harvest meeting, the District Secretary of Anuradhapura too had assured the farmers that compensation would be paid.
The GA instructed me to give all the information to the District Agriculture Director, and I have done so. It is a problem for me as to how I am to fulfill a promise that was made by the District Secretary. Isn't it the District Secretary himself who should resolve this?
As a result of the officials who should be held accountable for this issue evading their duties, the Divisional Secretary, who is powerless in this matter, has been caught in the trap of having to make explanations to the farmers as to why their problems have not been resolved. The previous Agriculture Secretary, whose recommendation that the farmers use substandard seeds was the cause of the problem, has been able to sidestep any loss of face in this problem since he has now been assigned as Secretary to the Ministry of Special Projects, which has been entrusted with addressing the high incidence of kidney disease in the North Central Province. While the issue at hand is not as serious as renal disease, shouldn't steps be taken nonetheless to recompense the farmers who have incurred major losses as a result of a recommendation from a responsible public official to plant substandard seeds? Minister of Agriculture, once again, this is over to you.
Promises that have been limited towards fuel subsidy for fishermen. 2013 budget promised to provide free shoes to school children. Promised to provide pregnant mothers with nutrition supplements. Did authorities simply make false promises to farmers who charge that they receive substandard seeds? Have any of the promises made by authorities to resolve the human-elephant conflict been carried out? Why are promises being limited to words?
The Newsfirst Eslon Danamuthu Sayani, which was held at the Central College in Jaffna, concluded today.
This is the 8th phase of the Danamuthu Sayani, which was jointly organized by Newsfirst and Eslon in Jaffna. Engineers, lawyers, architects, provincial government officials, banks, plumbers, electricians and a number of other resource persons from various fields from Jaffna and Colombo were in attendance at this program. Certificates and awards were presented to the winners of the art competition, which showcased the talent of the children under the age of 15. This is what some of the people had to say about the Newsfirst Eslon Danamuthu Sayani.
This program was very beneficial to those who construct buildings. I thank Shakti TV and Shakti FM. Such programs should be held not only in Jaffna but all across the island. We have been trampled by war and we don't really get such programs happening in this area. But my students and I got this opportunity, and I must say that the students of Jaffna found this very useful.
அகற்றுவதற்கு நடவடிக்கைகள் அனைத்து பிரச்சார நடவடிக்கைகளையும் இது நியூஸ் ஃபர்ஸ்டின் மனத்தியால செய்திகள். வணக்கம், நீங்கள் இணைந்திருப்பது
Sambhavi Kumaralingam from Ampara, who got through the screen tests that were held at the Danamuthu Sayani, even got the opportunity to appear on an hourly news bulletin on Shakti TV. Voice tests were also conducted by Newsfirst, and Gautami Nandabale from Jaffna got through the voice test.
Parliamentarian Dr. Harshadi Silva convened a media briefing today.
It was I who said for the first time 4 weeks ago that the company that is building a city after filling up the sea in front of Golf-Face Green is a company that was banned by the World Bank. The government denied this. But last week Dinesh Gunawardena said that Harshadi Silva was right and accepted the contract was given to a company that was banned by the World Bank. I view this as a victory of the people, as the government has now begun accepting the truth.
The National Day of Pakistan was marked at an event held in Colombo today.
The celebratory event was held under the auspices of Pakistan's High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, retired Major General Qasim Qureshi. The ceremony was attended by a large number of participants, including members of the Sri Lanka-Pakistan Friendship Association, prominent Sri Lankan personalities and the Pakistani community based in Sri Lanka.
Today we are celebrating the 74th National Day of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. On this occasion, I will convey my best wishes and warm regards to the government and people of Sri Lanka from the government and people of Pakistan.
The National Day of Pakistan is celebrated every year on the 23rd of March to mark the passing of the Pakistan Resolution in Lahore in 1940, which culminated in the creation of Pakistan in 1947.
On to sports news now. Pakistan clinched an emphatic 16-run victory in the ICC World T20 encounter against Australia, worked off in Mirpur today.
Winning the toss, the Australians elected to field first. Ahmad Shahzad and Kamran Akmal opened the innings for Pakistan. Shahzad was the first wicket to fall with just 5 runs. Captain Mohammad Hafiz posted only 13 runs before heading back to the dresser. Umar Akmal obtained his 6th T20 half-century today and top-scored for the team with 94 runs before falling prey to Australian bowler Mitchell Starc. Kamran Akmal and Shahid Afridi chipped in with 31 and 20 runs respectively to the winning score. Pakistan were 191 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Chasing 192 runs to win, the Australians were bowled out for a mere 175 runs in their 20 overs. Opener David Warner was undone for just 4 runs. Glenn Maxwell top-scored for the Pakistanis with 74 runs and Aaron Finch contributed with 65.
bowled in. Nice way to finish. And Umar.
Although under the new regulations under the Sports Act, elections for national sports associations should be held biannually, the constitutions of several associations read that elections should be held annually. Given this disparity, what is the crisis that is now facing the Sri Lanka Badminton Association?
On the 19th of this month, the World Badminton Federation issued a letter of caution to the Sri Lanka Badminton Association, informing them that elections for the association must be held prior to the 31st of March. The letter notes that if the association fails to hold elections, the federation would be made to suspend Sri Lanka. The World Badminton Federation notes that although elections should be held biannually as per sports laws in Sri Lanka, as per the Badminton Association's constitution, elections should be held annually. The federation notes that as such the election should be held this year in keeping with the Badminton Association's constitution. However, the president of the SLBA, Suraj Dandenia, is not prepared to adhere to the World Badminton Federation's orders. He says that the World Badminton Federation's order that the National Olympic Committee be involved in the election is also unacceptable. The World Badminton Federation is asking us to violate Sri Lanka's sports regulations and that we should not care about sports laws in Sri Lanka. They say we must work according to what they say. Thereby we will be writing to the World Badminton Federation asking them to visit Sri Lanka and run our badminton federation. Because if we try to run it the way they want, we will all be breaking the law. However, at the monthly meeting held on Friday, the Vice President of the SLBA, Palitha Hettiarachchi, noted that the crisis was discussed. He added that an extraordinary general meeting will be convened within 2 weeks for this purpose. The National Olympic Committee says that the World Badminton Federation has vested them with the power to monitor the election. However, the NOC notes that they will not take such steps as long as the present sports regulations prevail. Will Sri Lankan badminton face a ban as a result of the National Olympic Committee and the President of the Sri Lanka Badminton Association refusing to adhere to the orders of the World Badminton Federation?
Well, that's a wrap from the Newsfirst team for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudan Nayaka. Good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.